If you could go back and see the entire cycle of works again, Overpass comes at a point in the journey where it's after a very anxious moment or a bunch of moments where there are these women that are kind of on the edges of town in these dangerous unpoliced territories or whatever. There's the woman in the hotel, there's the one down by the docks, there's the woman smoking at the table, and there is a kind of heightened soundtrack there that increases the feeling of anxiety. Overpass was deliberately put after that section as a kind of break from that. It is a more lighter feeling. It's kind of a summery mood, I guess I was going for. It's suburban, but there isn't any kind of suggested menace in that piece like there is in some of the other ones. You could imagine that in the area beyond the frame or beyond the model could be one of those unpatrolled or wild areas, and often the suburb is the last part of the city, and after that you're into the wilderness or some kind of construction site or whatever. So if you look closely at Overpass, there's a kind of derelict section in the foreground where there's empty wine bottles and beer bottles. So it could be that this is the edge of a neighborhood that leads into a possibly more, seedy place or something. But maybe that's not something every viewer would pick up. But it's true that there's no direct threat to the characters in Overpass. In the beginning of this, we talked about influences and cinema and whatever, architecture, natural history. Maybe a more powerful influence are these kind of internal states. And for me, it's been a lifelong battle with various forms of mental illness, Tourette's syndrome, severe depression and anxiety. And I think there was a long period in the early part of my practice where I felt that I was fighting. I mean, I was really fighting those things in order to be creative. And something shifted during the making of Scenes from the House Dream, which was the production period on that was about 5 or 6 years. And somewhere in the middle of that, I thought I was making a piece about a recurring dream about a house, which a lot of people tend to have. When I started to see these works come together, and especially when I saw them in sequence, I realized that there was something deeper I was talking about, and it wasn't really about the house. It was about this, the modern condition, the state that so many people find themselves in of either anxiety or depression or some form of mild or severe mental illness that tends to be a lot more common than most people think, and there not a lot of people talk about it either. So as that started to unfold, and I could see that that was kind of the hidden theme of the work, these people pacing around nervously at night, insomniacs, anxious, lonely, melancholy. When I could see that that was at the center of it, something happened in the permission that I give myself in terms of, instead of, something changed where I didn't feel so much that I was fighting against these things, but that this was fuel for my practice, that I could use the energy of Tourette's or anxiety and sort of funnel that into my practice. And I guess that's what I had been doing anyway, because these themes were coming out whether I was designing them or not. The theme was going to come out anyway. And now when I look at it, I almost see that series as a kind of elegy, or what's the right word? Something like that, to mental illness. And it gave me permission to talk about it. It wasn't something I really talked about publicly before that. There's a stigma around it. With certain people, I still wouldn't talk about it, but usually if I'm given any kind of opportunity to speak publicly now, I'll mention it, at least because I know there's somebody out there that is struggling the same way I did, and there are many of them too. When I speak to students, you just see the hands go up at some point when they're feeling comfortable enough to admit that they struggle too.